My wife stood in front of the hallway mirror, carefully adjusting her shiny earrings just as she would for any other normal night of the week. She looked down at the bright screen of her phone, let out a small, soft smile at a new message she had just received, and then picked up her small leather purse on the table in the entryway. "I will be home later tonight," she said, using a voice that sounded so ordinary, like she was just heading out to the corner store to buy a carton of milk or a loaf of bread. I looked up from a heavy newspaper I was holding in my hands, feeling the thin paper between my fingers. "Do you have a big meeting or something for work?" I asked her, honestly feeling a little bit confused by how nice she looked. She paused for just a tiny second, a moment that felt like it stretched out much longer than it really did, before she finally answered me. "No," she said, looking me directly in the eye with a look I did not recognize. "I am actually going out on a date tonight with someone else." I sat there in my favorite chair and waited for her to say something else to me. I waited for her to start laughing and tell me it was all just a silly joke, or to explain what she really meant by those words, or even to tell me that I had heard her wrong because of the noise in the house. But she did not say anything like that at all. Instead, she looked right at me, stood up straight, and said, "I think you should just accept it." The whole room became completely quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy in your ears. I could tell she was waiting for me to be shocked or to get very angry and start shouting. She probably thought I would start asking her a lot of difficult questions, or that I would beg her on my knees not to walk out that door. But I did not do any of those things. Instead, I slowly and carefully folded my newspaper and placed it very neatly on the wooden coffee table in front of me. I gave her a polite, calm smile and simply said, "Okay." Her brave face changed right away. That was not the answer she had spent all afternoon getting ready for while she was getting dressed. She blinked her eyes a couple of times, looking like she thought she might have heard me wrong. "That is it?" she asked me, her voice sounding a bit surprised. "Are you really just going to sit there and let me walk out of here to meet another man?" I shrugged my shoulders very gently, feeling a strange kind of peace. If someone has already made up their mind to go on a date with a different person, I do not think that begging them to stay is going to make our marriage any better or fix the problems we have. I told her quietly. She just stood there staring at me, trying to see if I was hiding how I really felt deep inside. "I honestly thought you would fight for me and try to stop me," she said in a very quiet voice that almost sounded sad. I gave her a smile that felt a little bit tired and worn out. I have been fighting for us and for our home for a very long time now. Tonight is just the first night where I have finally stopped fighting all by myself. For a few seconds, it felt very uncomfortable in the hallway. Neither of us said another word to the other. Then she grabbed her car keys, walked to the heavy front door, and left the house without saying goodbye. I waited until I heard the sound of her car pulling out of our gravel driveway and the noise of the engine fading away. Only then did I get up from my chair, walk into my small home office, and open the bottom desk drawer. I pulled out a plain yellow folder that I had been keeping there for a few weeks. This folder was not something I made because I was angry that night. It had been sitting in my desk for almost a month, and I had not even touched it because I was afraid of what it meant. Inside the folder were copies of all our money records, a list of our shared bank accounts, and a business card of a lawyer who spends his time helping families who are going through hard times. I had met him once after I realized that our marriage was slowly falling apart like an old house. I had really hoped with all my heart that I would never have to use any of those papers or call that number. I sat at my desk for a few minutes, just looking at the folder without opening it, listening to the ticking of the clock on the wall. Then I decided it was time to be brave and make 3 important phone calls. The first call I made was to my lawyer to set up a time to talk the very next morning. The second call was to the bank, so I could start the legal process of separating the money accounts that I was allowed to change by myself without her being there. The third call was to my older brother. I asked him if I could stay at his house in the spare bedroom for a few days while everything started to settle down and get organized. I did not make these choices because I want to get back at her or be mean, because my feelings were hurt. I made them because I finally accepted that my wife had chosen her own path, and I needed to be a grown-up and choose my own path too. By the time it was midnight, The house looked exactly the same as it always did to anyone looking from the outside, but everything that really mattered in my life had changed forever. I packed one large suitcase with my favorite clothes, my important papers, my laptop, and a few pictures of my family from when we were all happy. I did not touch anything else in the house or move any of her things. There was no reason to break things or turn a sad situation into something mean or ugly. Before I left for good, I sat down at the kitchen table where we used to eat breakfast together and wrote a short note with a blue pen. I meant every single word I wrote on that paper. I told her, I accept that I cannot control the choices you make for your life. In return, I hope you can accept that I have to make choices for my own future and my own happiness too. My lawyer will call you in a few days so we can take care of everything in a respectful and kind way. I folded the note in half and placed it right next to my gold wedding ring on the table. I locked the front door behind me, feeling the cold air on my face, and drove away into the dark night. For the first time in many long months, I was not sitting at home alone wondering what she was going to do next or who she was with. I had finally made a choice of my own, and it felt like I could breathe again. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning when I felt my phone buzzing against my leg. I looked at the small screen and saw 6 calls I had missed from my wife while I was driving and talking to my brother. Then she started sending text messages one after another. "Where are you right now?" she asked in the first one. "Why is your wedding ring sitting all alone on the table?" "Ryan, please talk to me and tell me what is happening." I read every single message she sent, but I did not write back or call her. There was nothing left for me to explain that I had not already said before she walked out the door earlier that evening. She had asked me to accept what she was doing, and I had done exactly that. The next morning, I went to see my lawyer in his quiet office. We signed the papers we needed to sign and talked about what the next steps would be for the divorce. While we were talking, another message popped up on my phone screen. "I came home thinking we would have a big argument and talk about things, not that I would find a completely empty house," she wrote. I just locked my phone screen and went back to my meeting. Sometimes staying quiet is not a way to hurt someone on purpose. Sometimes it is just the sound of choice that has already been made in your heart. Later that afternoon, she finally got a hold of me by calling my brother's phone instead of mine. Her voice was shaking a lot, and she sounded like she had been crying for a long time. "I never thought you would actually leave me for real," she told me. I took a slow, deep breath and looked out the window at the trees before I answered her. "That is exactly the problem," I said as gently as I could. She started to cry softly on the other end of the phone line. "I thought you would try to stop me. I thought you would fight much harder to keep me here home with you." I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the last few years. "You thought my patience meant I was giving you permission to do whatever you wanted without any consequences. Every time I forgave you for the small things, you just thought there would always be one more chance waiting for you no matter what you did." The phone line went quiet for a bit. After a few seconds, she whispered, "I actually canceled the date right after I left the house because I felt bad." I believed her, but just believing her was not enough to fix the broken parts of our life anymore. "Canceling the date changes what happened last night," I told her gently. "But it does not change the fact that you were okay with walking out that door and leaving me in the first place." Neither of us said anything for a long time after that. A week later, we met at a quiet little cafe with small round tables to talk about what would happen next for us. She got there early and looked more tired than I had ever seen her before in my life. As soon as I sat down, she pushed my gold wedding ring across the table toward me. "I kept hoping you would ask for this back and put it on again," she whispered. I looked at the ring for a second, seeing the light catch the metal, but I did not pick it up. That ring was a symbol about the promises we made to each other to be kind and faithful, I said in a soft voice. "The metal is just a piece of jewelry. It is not what gave the ring any value." Her eyes filled with tears that started to run down her face. "I have been thinking about that night over and over again in my head," she said. "I thought saying, 'just accept it,' would make you chase after me and tell me how much you love me. I never thought it would make you let me go." I nodded my head slowly. Love is not proven by how much someone begs you to stay or how loud they yell. It is shown by how two people choose each other every single day, long before things get this bad. She put her head down on her hands because she knew I was right. Months later, our divorce was finished and the papers were all filed. We did not have any big fights in court or public drama for the neighbors to see. Sometimes my friends ask me what I did after my wife left that night to meet another man. They usually expect me to tell a long story about a big fight or getting revenge on her. They are always very surprised when I tell them the simple truth. I did not follow her car. I did not make a big scene in the street. I did not try to be better than anyone else or act like I was perfect. I simply accepted the choice she made for her life, and then I made a choice of my own for my life. Looking back at it now, being calm changed everything for me. It reminded me that having respect for yourself is not about how loud you yell when someone hurts you. It is about the rules you keep for your own life and how you treat yourself. I really hope she learned something from what happened, just like I did. Some relationships end with a lot of shouting and doors being slammed. Ours ended with one very quiet word. Okay,